Hello and welcome to episode 147 of Glitch Report. My name is GnittWitt. Thank you so much for stopping by, saying hi, kicking it with me today on the stream of dreams, the show of shows. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree. That is linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt. That is the link to go for the places you need to see. Man, oh man, Summer Game Fest has come and gone, and it has left us with a stack of video game announcements, reveals, debuts, world premieres, all of that good stuff, and also a healthy amount of news to kind of go with it. You know, there were some controversies, there were reactions to the stuff shown at Summer Game Fest that made its way into the news. The Embracer group is back with a vengeance. It's like Jaws 4 up in here. Sony is cutting people, laying people off. We have a lot to talk about there. And also I've been playing a decent amount of demos as well as part of Summer Game Fest, you know, especially if you're watching stuff like Day of the Devs, Cozy Games, a lot of the indie showcases. You know, these indie games are really, really good at getting their games, you know, out in front of people through whatever channels they have. Obviously, they don't have like the big marketing budgets of some of these companies, but you know, the indie developers that can get their name out there in the world usually have demos to go with it. So there are a lot of demos. You might even be able to get a chance to check out some demos on whatever console you're playing. I'm playing on PC, and as a result, I have a huge amount of demos to go through. One demo that I've been playing is a little game called How to Train Your Cock. I've been training my cock since last night. Currently, my cock is 12.1 centimeters in size. And this is a game. This is just for the record. I know that if you watch the video, you can't really see me from like the waist down, but this is a video. How to Train Your Cock is a video game, and it's a very small PC game, very, very small game. It's really a game that runs in the background when you're doing stuff on the computer. So it's very simple. You have this little chicken, this cock, whatever you want to call them, and this chicken is standing around inside a gym. It's like a game that like hovers on your desktop. Like you don't even have to like go to a separate window. It's just hovering in the background of whatever you're doing. Anyways, you got this chicken here, and it is curling dumbbells. It is lifting. And every time the chicken lifts the dumbbell, you earn something called gains. It's a currency called gains. And what you do with the gains is you spend it on different upgrades for the chicken. So you can basically spend gains on strength, stamina, recovery, and lifting speed. Now, the way it works is the chicken has a certain amount of stamina. So the chicken can curl a certain amount of dumbbells before it gets tired and needs to regain its stamina. So what you can do and every time it curls, it earns some amount of gains. So you can spend that money on strength, the gains on strength, which basically means that every time it curls, it earns more gains. So it's almost like a money, like you're investing to make more money or more gains every time the chicken curls a dumbbell. You can also increase the chicken's stamina, which means that it can curl the bell for longer before it gets tired. You can increase the recovery, which means once the stamina is empty, the chicken will be faster to get back to max stamina and continue curling. And you can invest in lifting speed, which basically means how many times, how fast the chicken can curl while draining the stamina. So you might be able to get a little bit more out of your stamina bar just because you're lifting a little bit faster. And that's kind of it. That's like 90% of the game right there. Like How to Train Your Cock is a very, very, very simple game that I've mostly been left running on the computer. Now you might be asking yourself, okay, well, you use gains to spend upgrades on the chicken. How do you increase the centimeters of the how does the chicken grow? Every time you buy an upgrade, the chicken grows by 0.1 centimeters. So if I go over here, Now my recovery is at 1.9, and now the chicken is at 12.3 centimeters. The chicken is also named Cocky Balboa. Cocky Balboa, and I didn't name the chicken. That's just the name that it came with. There is one other element to this game as well, from what I can tell. The chicken is like standing in a gym, and to the left of the chicken, for the audio people, the chicken is like standing at a gym. To the left of it is a treadmill that doesn't do anything, and then to the right of it is a set of dumbbells, which also don't seem to do anything. So what you can do is you can take your gains, and instead of buying upgrades, you can spend the gains to get equipment that you can put in that environment that the chicken is standing in. You need about 1,500 gains for one egg. So it's a scenario where maybe you would be a lot further in the game. You'd have a much bigger chicken than a much bigger cock, than I currently have, in order to maybe be in a position where you can spend a lot of those gains to get eggs. Like right now, it takes me a fair bit to get enough gains for even one egg, and I just feel like my gains might be better spent elsewhere. Anyways, we're gonna be training our cock in the background here of the show, so maybe in a little bit we'll check on the cock and see how it is growing, and we'll go from there. We're on cock watch around here, around these parts of the Glitch Report podcast. The Glitch Report cock cast. Speaking of cocks, the dicks over at Sony. No, I joke. That Sony seems fine. PlayStation had its state of play, not to be outdone first by anyone. Sony had its big showcase. Well, I say big. It was like a 40-minute long showcase to kind of kick off Summer Game Fest. And I got to be honest, like I'm not too sure how I want to cover this, because I definitely don't want to, like Aerosmith, I don't want to miss a thing. But also, I really, like, as someone who just ran through like every Atari 2600 game under the sun a couple of weeks ago, and every Nintendo Switch game that, came out after the console launch, I don't really want to make this a podcast where I sit here and either talk about my cock or just list off video games. But I'm referring to a lot of articles, in regards to everything shown at Summer Game Fest and PlayStation and IO and things like that, Day of the Devs and all that stuff. But so let's kick things off kind of talking about PlayStation. They were first out of the gate. I might be kind of mixing up this might be a podcast where, we talk about a game. If I've had a chance to play it as part of a demo, I might take the time to talk about that then and now while it is fresh, versus being like, hey, remember this game I talked about, 15 minutes ago? Let's go back to it. So just bear with me here as we kind of go through all this, because there's a lot to cover. 007 First Light was revealed, featuring a young James Bond. They have confirmed that James Bond is going to be 26 in this game. He is in the Navy. He's not earned 00 status. That is the thing about 007 First Light, is the big deal from IO with this game is the idea that you are going to be earning that 00 status. You are a young Bond. You are not an agent. You are a Navy. You can tell from the bomber jacket that he wears and all of that stuff. And the thing that really kind of got me excited is thinking about a Bond that maybe, and I'm not familiar with the books, but a Bond that maybe harkens back to some of the James Bond books, some of the Ian Fleming's written work. In the sense that, we're in a state right now with Bond is in a state right now where it desperately needs a reboot, and people have been talking up and down who should play James Bond, who do you get, all of this stuff. And I don't know what the right answer necessarily is to who should be the next James Bond, what direction they should take Bond in. But an easy way to make sure that you have a game that is ready to be franchised and sequelized for years to come is to take a classic character like Bond, who was in a state that needed a reboot, and young him up, make him young, put him in the fountain of youth, and make him a younger character who is still coming into his own as an agent, right? I mean, think about, we talked, what was it, not that long ago, about the Tomb Raider games, right? This idea of like young Lara Croft, who doesn't understand the nature of, of her family and the family business and all that stuff, like really coming into her own, right? And you can obviously mix things up with like flashbacks and all of that stuff too, but like, what better way to get people invested in the Bond character than to have them be there on the ground floor as he becomes a 007 agent. It is a third person action adventure game. There was a lot of emphasis on shooting guys and blowing stuff up, and like, don't get me wrong, there is plenty of room in the spy thriller action genre for shooting dudes and blowing stuff up. But whether you are talking about the spy fiction genre or even the games that IO has made, when you think about Hitman, like, if you're shooting dudes in Hitman, it's probably because something has gone horribly wrong in your plan to poison the sushi that the guard is going to eat, and then, whatever, like, it's an explosive rubber duck, you're at a mansion and this guy's playing golf and you replaced his golf ball with an explosive golf ball, and then when he hits the golf ball, he blows up. And there's violence in IO's games. There's violence in Hitman. Like, there's no doubt about it. But I think my thing is, and maybe I've been spoiled by, kind of recent movies that I've been, not recent in the sense that like they're new releases necessarily, but like I've been watching a lot of spy movies recently. And the thing that like really connected with me were movies like the original Mission Impossible, where there is plenty of spy hijinks and action and stuff like that, but it isn't really at the core. Like, their problem solving is usually to get in and out undetected. Something that they kind of go back to in Ghost Protocol, as a Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol as well, but also the movie Black Bag, which if you've not seen Black Bag, a 2025 release, truly phenomenal movie where, it is about the spies, talking to people and lying to them and getting information out of them. And, who is the biggest liar out of this group of people? There's a really fantastic scene in Black Bag where it is a dinner party and everybody at that dinner party is a spy, and it's just phenomenal in terms of like the dialogue and the acting. It's all that stuff, but like, talking to people, getting information out of them, whether that be truth serum or whether that be hacking or whether that be just lying to them and keeping your story straight. Like, to me, that is so core to the spy experience. And while there isn't maybe that much of that in the grand scheme of things in Hitman, because you are dressing up as a chef and then you are taking out the guy who works at the pool, and now I'm the pool guy, and the pool's full of poison, and whoops, you jumped in the pool and now you're dead, or whatever weird goofy stuff is happening in Hitman. I would just like to see maybe a little bit of a thoughtful, careful and non-violent options in 007 First Light. I mean, obviously the official announcement trailer and all that stuff, it's got to be big, it's got to be crazy, it's got to be bombastic. Like I get that. Don't get it twisted. Don't get me wrong. But I also think that there's plenty of room for a Bond that is aware that you do not have to shoot first and ask questions later. We won't know. This game is not coming out until 2026, and even then, who knows? It could get delayed. Do I have hope? Absolutely. I think based on what IO has done with the recent Hitman games, which are now all bundled as part of Hitman World of Assassination, I do not think you could ask for a better developer to take the James Bond brand and do something fantastic with it. I just still have a little bit of reservations based on like how I feel about the world of spies and spy fiction and stuff like that. That being said, we'll probably talk about this later, but to me, one of the best things that I saw at Summer Game Fest was 007 First Light. A surprise for, I think, almost everybody was Marvel Token Fighting Souls, which is a 4 versus 4 fighting game from the developers of Guilty Gear. Now, I got to be honest, Guilty Gear and Dragon Ball Fighter Z and Arc systems in general, like, I don't play a lot of fighting games. And when I do, they're almost never Arc system games. I think Arc system games tend to be very, very technical, very, very crazy, filled with a lot of jargon, a lot of just like deep systems that, like, for a fighting game fan is probably amazing. For the average person that just wants to go through a single player story mode, or maybe mess around with some people online, or fight the computer opponents and level up and earn whatever. I think a lot of that stuff can be a little obtuse at times. And that's even gone for other Marvel games. Like, Marvel has had a long history of fighting games, primarily through Capcom. And even Capcom games, like you think about like Marvel versus Capcom, a dense, crazy fighting game that for some people they might be able to get into from the pure spectacle of things. But for others, when you actually drill down into those mechanics, you might be thinking, like, this is just maybe a little too much for me. This is a little too extra, a little too spicy for my taste. I'd rather just play through a game like, Mortal Kombat or Injustice, where I can get through the story mode. I can learn the characters if I want to, and just have a more carefree experience. That being said, like, graphically, I think Marvel Token Fighting Souls looks fantastic. I love what they have done with the art style for a lot of the Captain America games, the Marvel games and the Marvel characters. They kind of, like, an example is they kind of added more of a like mech look to Iron Man. He almost looks a little more robotic, like he's less humanoid in his look. He's more angular, more sharp and stuff like that. Really great look. I would love to be wrong about how technical and how in-depth this game could be, but it is also a 4 versus 4. So it is 4 people fighting at any given time in that game. Obviously it's one-on-one in like when you actually look at the gameplay, but you can always call in your second, third, or fourth character as an assistant, swap them out and do that stuff. And I've always struggled with, like, when do I call in my second character? When do I get them to assist? Do I swap them out because my other character is about to die? That stuff can be almost like rubbing your stomach, patting your head at the same time. It is coming out in 2026 for PC and PS5, but we'll have to wait to find out more. Now, this is, I've said my piece about Silent Hill in the past. I've never connected with the games. I should go give that second game a shot. But they showed off more of Silent Hill F. It is an upcoming horror game set in the 1960s Japan. It is coming out September 25th, 2025. So we finally got a date to play that game. They showed a lot of combat. Like, they showed a lot of, like, swinging pipes and shit at the at your opponents and stuff like that. And I was like a little weirded out because I'm like, when I think Silent Hill, I don't think like very combat heavy, but nonetheless, it looked all right. Something that's exciting for me, Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles is coming to PS5 with classic and enhanced versions. And I do believe that this game is coming to other platforms as well, but it was all shown off as part of the Sony state of play. That game is going to be $67 when it comes out, which I think is pretty steep for a old video game. That being said, I do really like Final Fantasy Tactics, one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. So there's a good chance that I might have to pick this up. That's coming out September 30th. It will have the original version of the game as well as the enhanced version. The enhanced version features fully voiced dialogue, optimized and updated menus, graphical improvements, and even some quality of life features like a Squire difficulty setting. It'll also feature autosave. They showed off Neo 3. There's a demo that you can play. I have always struggled with, Souls-like games, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. However, Neo is going to be coming to PlayStation 5 in early 2026. They showed off more Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. That game is out very soon. Ghost of Yotei is getting a special state of play in July. That is prior to its release on October 2nd. They're adding some more updates to Astrobot. One game that really took me by surprise, that I was really impressed by, was Luminous Arise. It is coming to PS5 and PSVR 2. It is coming in the fall of 2025. It's also coming to Steam, coming to PC if you want to. This is from the people that made Tetris Effect, and it is yet another gorgeous, trippy, musical puzzle game that I've never played Luminous. I'm not an expert in Luminous, but this really struck me as a gorgeous looking, wild game, and I am very excited to check that out when it comes out in the fall of this year. Pragmata, this was a proof of life kind of showcase for Pragmata. Last heard about in 2023, it has now made its re-debut, for lack of a better word, showing off a space-looking man named Hugh protecting a girl named Deanna, and a ton of stylish action. It is kind of a third-person action shooter thing, but there's a little more to it than that. It's sci-fi, it's trippy, it's a little weird, and you can check that out if you want to as well. Grasshopper Manufacturer has their new game, Romeo is Dead, a new wild action game coming to PS5 in 2026 that is said to feature super bloody action, crazy twists and turns to blow the player's mind, and a whole mess of kinda stereotypical gimmicks. That is their words, not mine. The game stars Romeo Stargazer, and he is stuck between life and death. He is working as an FBI space-time special agent Deadman and must hunt space-time's most wanted fugitives through multiple universes. Now, here is the thing. I think Grasshopper Manufacturer do really good work. I have loved games such as Shadows of the Damned. Shadows of the Damned is a kind of a third-person action horror game. Think something like a Resident Evil with the third-person over-the-shoulder view sort of thing. A Silent Hill, kind of, but it is very goofy. It is like, what if you took like a Resident Evil style game and made it the Evil Dead 2? Like, it is very much going for a goofy, comedic style of thing there with the horror comedy. And I think Grasshopper does good work. Unfortunately, I also think Grasshopper does inconsistent work. Some of the re-releases or some of their games, some of their original games have not always been amazing. I mean, who is sitting around here thinking about such bangers as Killer is Dead, right? Like, are we really sitting around here being like, oh yes, Killer is Dead? No, that is a video game. So it's a thing where, like, they have like Lollipop Repop is not an amazing game. That being said, I would love to be wrong about Romeo is Dead. It's just a scenario where, like, I think Let It Die is a cool game. But yeah, I would just like it if they were a little more consistent. I don't know if we're going to get that from them this time around, but I am willing to at least hear them out, but I'm not going to be pre-ordering it anytime soon. Mortal Kombat Legacy, you'll be able to get a whole whack load of old Mortal Kombat games coming soon to a console of choice, if I had to guess. PlayStation announced a fight stick. It is a nice looking fight stick, but I don't know if I would be grabbing a fight stick as someone who's not the biggest fighting game fan in the first place. Ninja Gaiden Rage Bound. I'll probably have more to say about Ninja Gaiden Rage Bound, which has a July 2025 release. I have the demo for it. I have not had a chance to play it, but if you're looking for a classic side scroller from the looks of things, Ninja Gaiden Rage Bound. A game that I was not expecting to hear or see was a sequel to Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I love Bloodstained Ritual of the Night so much. If you are a fan of the, Castlevania, Metroidvania, exploring the castle, unlocking new abilities. If you really liked that recent Prince of Persia game, the Prince of Persia, the Lost Crown, you might like Bloodstained. I really like Bloodstained because it's so dumb, and it's a much easier game than something like Prince of Persia is. But like I said, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, very, very close to your boy GnittWitt's heart. The sequel is called Bloodstained: The Scarlet Engagement, a new 2.5D side-scrolling action RPG that is coming out in 2026. Sword of the Sea, which kind of was shown off at a lot of different showcases from the people that made Abzu and the Pathless. in another, atmospheric adventure game. This time you are surfing on a giant sword throughout a variety of locations. Karen, Cairn, Karen, is a survival climbing game. There's a demo out now for it. It's coming to PS5 November 5th. I believe it's also coming to other platforms. Let me just look here, as I should have opened Steam a long time ago. Yeah, it's coming to other platforms as well. And so that's November 5th. There is a demo out now. Do I have this demo? Sorry, I've been trying to keep track of all the demos I have and haven't downloaded. I have not downloaded that. Let me go download that while we do this here. And since I have Steam open, I want to do a quick cock check. Cock check. 12.8 centimeters. That's how big my cock is. All right, let's keep going. Everybody's Golf Hot Shots got a gameplay trailer. It is also going to feature Pac-Man. Pac-Man will be a playable character in Everybody's Golf Hot Shots. That is coming everywhere from the looks of things. September 5th. I can say that because it's also coming to PC, which is very exciting because there's not a lot of golf games like this on PC, if I'm being honest. Like, there's just, it's just not a thing. There's not a lot of golf games like this. That all being said, I'm excited. Very, very excited to play this, and that's September 5th, so I'll be playing that sooner rather than later. Baby Steps. They showed off Baby Steps. That is coming to PC, PS5, September 8th. I played a little Baby Steps. I played it. The demo is out now for it. And I'm going to kind of say this up at the top. If you have seen any of Baby Steps, you know that it is a goofy looking game. Like, the character that you play as is this goofy, dumpy looking guy, schlubby looking guy. And he's like, if like Seth Rogen really let himself go. Like, that's kind of what I would say. Like take Seth Rogen, give him a much bigger gut and a bigger ass. First of all, the ass on this guy is huge. I don't know if I've ever played a game with a dude as the main protagonist, and this dude has the biggest ass I've ever seen in a video game character who's a male ever. But the point, I don't know, I'm just talking about cocks and ass on this show. Good Lord. The point is, he's like a real schlubby loser, bum ass looking dude. And it is a game where you are exploring this open world. You are walking. As part of the story, you kind of find yourself in this magical, weird land. You don't know how you got there, and you're basically just walking. And the thing about Baby Steps is the gameplay and the controls are incredibly deliberate. It is a scenario where when you hold the left stick to move forward, you're actually leaning like your waist, like your whole waist leans forward until you fall forward and land flat on your face. So the trick with Baby Steps is you have to hold the triggers L2 and R2. So if you tried to move forward, you'd want to hold R2, stretch your leg forward until but not too far, because you don't want to like do the splits or anything. And then you want to let go and then immediately switch to L2 and then push forward again to move that foot forward. And then it's just one foot after another. So the demo did not take me very long, because I was able to kind of get a handle on the controls pretty quickly. I also didn't want to explore too much. I just wanted to go in the direction the game wanted me to go and see the cutscenes the game wanted me to see and kind of go from there. But the real trick is, not only mastering the controls, but also knowing what terrain you want to go across. This guy has no shoes. He is barefoot. So there was a part where I was walking in the rain, and I was walking on these like very smooth and slippery rock surfaces. And I, frequently was sliding off, falling down and stuff like that. So it is not just about mastering the controls, but also kind of knowing where is best to move and kind of navigate through. You could say it almost has like a Souls-ish quality to it, because, if you fall, there's no checkpoint, right? Like, if you fall off a ledge or something, you got to walk back over there. Now, in fairness, I think it's not as brutal and as punishing, and it's also kind of funny, so it's not usually that soul crushing as something like dying in an Elden Ring or something like that may be. But I can see a scenario where people are like, oh, this is not funny anymore. this is frustrating. I just want to move this stupid idiot to where he needs to go, and it doesn't let me do that. But I was able to get through the controls just fine and get through that demo, and that's coming out September 8th, and I'm looking forward to it. We are going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to try to maybe jam through a lot more of these showcases a little bit more quickly. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the podcast. We're going to trip over our own words. Let's just move on from that and talk more about Summer Game Fest. I have another article here from IGN written by Adam Bankhurst saying, everything announced at Summer Game Fest 2025. I'm going to be a tad more selective about kind of what I saw and what I want to talk about, if that is okay with you. But we'll kick things off talking about Resident Evil 9 Requiem. It has been confirmed. It has been announced, and it has a release date of February 27th, and it's coming out on PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S. It looks good. I think it was I getting excited about a Resident Evil 9. It almost feels like getting excited about a particular holiday. Like, it's gonna happen anyways. So that's maybe why I'm not like sitting here and be like, oh my God, I get Resident Evil 9. This is crazy. I was not expecting. It's like, no, like, this is one of the most expected things to come out of this showcase. And if it didn't happen at this showcase, it probably would have happened at, the Microsoft showcase or something like that. But no, they got Jeff Keighley, got Resident Evil 9 for his showcase. They showed that off. And, they're talking a new tone and a new feel, cinematic, high stakes action. I don't really know what that means. One thing that actually did come out, which I thought was interesting, is this game will be playable from the jump in both first person and third person. They have confirmed that, which I think is interesting. But to me, like, as much as the Resident Evil 7, 8s of the world are still Resident Evil games in almost every sense of the word, from the gameplay and mechanics and stuff like that, I really feel like they take on a life of their own, purely through the first person perspective, and what that kind of does to the way the story is told, the way the game is played and stuff like that, right? Like, if you think about a popular first person shooter series like Call of Duty, how often in a Call of Duty game is someone looking at the character and saying some fucking crazy military mumbo jumbo jargon or horrible military violence happening in front of your Call of Duty character and all this stuff, right? Like, yes, it can become mind numbing, and arguably maybe the Call of Duty series has run out of tricks through their first person perspective. But like with Resident Evil, like, it is, I think, and I hate to use this word because it's so cliche, it genuinely feels like a more visceral experience. It feels like a scarier experience when the antagonists and the villains of the game are up in your face. It feels unlike anything else from the Resident Evil series up until that point. So while I applaud them for trying to strike a balance between third person and first person, I just felt like Capcom had a good thing going by being like, if you want the classic third person experience, we have Resident Evil 2, we have 3, and we have 4 remastered for you to play through. And if you want our newer interpretation of the horror, we have 7, 8, and now 9 in first person. That being said, I'm not going to sit here and be mad about the idea that people can play it in third person. I just feel like I almost came to Resident Evil 7 and 8 for different reasons than I would something like Resident Evil, 2, 3, and 4. And I think part of that was the first person experience. So I'm curious to see if I noticed anything different, if it like changes at all. But I suspect that if the game is in third person, that the cutscenes are not going to be in first person like they were in Resident Evil 7 and 8. Like, that's one of the things, is when it's in first person, it's all in first person, baby. Like, those cutscenes are in first person. When you're talking to people, it is in first person. So I don't know if they can pull that off with the camera techniques with the ability to play in both first and third in Resident Evil Requiem. But hey, do not bet against Capcom. Like, I think if there's one thing you can take away from this podcast over the last little bit is do not bet against the good folks at Capcom. And we'll find out more on February 27th. They showed off some of the Lies of P overture. That is the prequel expansion to Lies of P. One of the things that I thought was interesting is that they've announced that the Lies of P game is going to get an update that includes difficulty settings. You can actually adjust the difficulty and make it easier if you would like. I thought that was really interesting. And then I thought, oh, well, Lies of P, I'll go check that out again on Game Pass because the DLC is paid. But if you want the update, which includes the difficulty settings, you can just get that for free. So I thought I would go fire that game back up on Game Pass and check it out. But sadly, that game has been removed from Game Pass, and I am not going to give Lies of P a single cent to give it a chance. Dying Like the Beast gets a release date for August. Some people commenting that it very, very much looks like an expansion or like DLC for Dying Light 2. And that's because it was. Dying Light the Beast was technically supposed to be an expansion to Dying Light 2, but then Techland decided to spin it off as its own standalone story. You're going to be playing as Kyle Crane, who is the original protagonist. I can't believe I even care about the protagonist in the Dying Light games, but he's the original protagonist from Dying Light 1. And I'm just here to say that Dying Light 1 is a great game, and the series died after that expansion. I think Dying Light 2 is a pretty miserable experience, and I have little faith in Techland's ability to get the series back up and running with a spinoff such as Dying Light the Beast. I jokingly said on Instagram threads, I was like, they should give out Dying Light the Beast as an apology for everyone who bought Dying Light 2. But then I remembered if you bought the premium edition of Dying Light 2 at the time of release, they are giving you the Beast for free anyway. So we'll see if people feel like that makes a difference or not. They're making a Wu-Tang Clan game. I'll say that again. They're making another Wu-Tang Clan game. Cannot forget about Shaolin Styles. This is a game that is an action game in which you are rescuing members of the Wu-Tang from my understanding here. As IGN puts it, the game meshes Afro surrealism and anime and will feature a soundtrack filled with both classic Wu-Tang songs and new music from Just Blaze. Just Blaze, a phenomenal DJ. Quote, "You've been called to battle back the forces of an invading, corrupting force, the Deceiver. You and your friends will fight alongside the Wu-Tang Clan, calling on their powerful skills and timeless wisdom to restore Shaolin to a beacon of hope, community, and prosperity." Capcom, not to be outdone by Resident Evil 9, also showed off Onimusha, Way of the Sword, a really gorgeous looking new Onimusha game. I gotta be honest, I don't know what almost a damn thing about Onimusha, but it looked really cool, and I'm curious to see how that game lands when it comes out. IO Interactive also talked about Hitman World of Assassination. You are getting a new elusive target where you are going to be hunting down Mads Mikkelsen as he reprises his Casino Royale character Le Chiffre. So Le Chiffre is now in Hitman World of Assassination. You can go hunt him down in the game as part of their update. Mortal Shell, I was talking about this with somebody else. Like, almost anytime you see a cool looking third-person action sword-based melee game, you later find out that it is a Souls-like, and that is definitely the case in Mortal Shell 2. In fact, I completely forgot about Mortal Shell 1 when I was looking at this. I was like, oh, this trailer is brutal, and it's gory, and it's metal, and it's freaking rips, bro. And then it was Mortal Shell 2, and I was like, oh, right, this is a Souls-like. And I just find that, like, I'm not saying people can't enjoy Souls-like. I'm not saying anything, but I'm getting kind of tired of all these third-person action games being Souls-like because I don't have a lot of patience for those games, if I'm being honest. I want to talk about another standout game that I saw at Summer Game Fest, Stranger Than Heaven, which is the Ryuga Gotoko official name for Project Century. This is a like World War II era, from the looks of things, open world action adventure game, in the style of, other, Yakuza games that you've played and stuff like that. And to me, what makes this so exciting is the idea of getting in on a, RGG game from the ground floor, right? Like, say what you will about like firing up Yakuza 0 or Kiwami or getting into the Judgment games, but like when you get into one of those series, there's always one more game, or at least one more game for you to play, right? In the case of Stranger Than Heaven, like this is their first game in what will potentially be a long running series. Maybe they'll do crossovers, maybe they'll do spin-offs and stuff like that. But like for now, this is a, potentially Yakuza style game where you're getting in with everybody, right? It is not a scenario where, oh man, I'd really love to play Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, but I have to get through or I feel like I have to get through 6 or 7 other games in the series. Like I'm not saying those games are bad, they're not worth playing, but there was something about this is so fresh that I could go into it completely unknown and potentially have a great time. And it's a nice looking game, and I'm hoping to find out more from it soon. Mundfish announced Atomic Heart 2, which, if I'm going to be honest with you, I did not like Atomic Heart 1 at all. Now, Atomic Heart 2 looks a hell of a lot better than Atomic Heart 1, but that does not leave me with a lot of hope, considering that it is a sequel to a game that I didn't think was very good at all. A game that they also announced something called The Cube, which is also from the Mundfish. It is set in the world of Atomic Heart, and it is some sort of multiplayer game. And then another standout for me for Summer Game Fest was Ill. Ill looks ill. It is a first-person horror action game with tons of dismemberment and horrifying creature designs. It looks gnarly, and I really don't have a lot much else to go off of Ill. It's like a 90-second trailer. There's only so much that you can look at, but Ill does indeed look ill, and I am curious to find out more about the game. The other thing that was shown off at the IO Interactive that I am missing is because the IO did its own, showcase. They announced that World of Assassination is going to be coming to Switch 2. We already knew that, and it's also going to be coming to iOS. They've also announced that Hitman, the board game, is happening. They also announced that IO Interactive is working on a Hitman co-op experience called Stone and Night, where you will be able to play Hitman with a friend, which I think is a really neat idea. I don't know how they're going to balance it. Like, is it going to be a scenario where oh, my buddy keeps fucking up the mission because he keeps shooting the wrong guy or causing trouble? It's really hard to say, but yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to mention from the IO Interactive showcase. They also announced that 007 First Light is going to get more of a full gameplay reveal sometime in the summer. They also showed off Mind's Eye, which is the narrative-driven single-player action-adventure game. It is out now. It is a game that was not sent to the press for reviews ahead of time. And the reason why they did that is because the game does not look so amazing. Early impressions have been that Mind's Eye is a bit of a mess, and I really don't have anything else to comment on the state of Mind's Eye because I haven't played it, and I really haven't looked too deep into the coverage of the game. But with all of that said, Mind's Eye seems like kind of a mess. Day of the Devs. So after Summer Game Fest, Day of the Devs happened. I have a list of all 20 games that were shown. I will kind of rattle off the ones that I thought were kind of neat as part of this. Big Walk, that is from the Untitled Goose Game people, which I think looks neat. It is a multiplayer walking game with a goofy looking bird-like people and there's like a little bit of I don't know how to describe it, a little bit of like social stuff. You can talk to people and your friends and do all that stuff. It looked neat. Marvel Cosmic Invasion. Marvel Cosmic Invasion is the brawler, like the arcade brawler game that is coming out. That looks really neat. Mixtape is the third person adventure kind of narrative game. Big emphasis on music and skateboarding, and it's a story about friends one last night together during the summertime. That's being done by Beethoven and Dinosaur, put out by Annapurna. That looked really neat. What else? I'm also like cross-referencing a lot of this stuff with you'll have to excuse me. I'm cross-referencing a lot of stuff with my wish list, because I added so much stuff to the wish list that I've completely forgotten to some extent what I have even been looking at. Another game that I thought was really neat, if you can go check it out, is a game called Please Watch the Artwork. That is a really neat looking game where you are looking at classical paintings for a demonic like horror presence that is basically infected the artwork that you're looking at. It's kind of like a spot the difference sort of game, but the idea is that you're looking for this evil presence that has basically infected classical artwork. And what I think is really neat is that it's a clever way to get people interested in classical art if they aren't familiar with it. I believe it is all based on one particular painter. If you'll give me one moment, I'm going to look it up. Please watch. Who is it? Who is it based off of again? You ever seen the painting Nighthawks? Like it's the person who did Nighthawks. I'm just trying to find out who it's basically a game based on the works of American realism painter Edward Hopper, who is known for his themes of loneliness and urban isolation. I think it's a gorgeous looking game. I really, really like it, and I am definitely adding that to my wish list. So that game looks really neat. Is there anything else that I am missing here? Moonlighter 2. I never played Moonlighter 1, but Moonlighter 2 looks neat. Is it Thick as Thieves? Is Thick as Thieves the one I'm thinking of? Thick as Thieves the one I was thinking of? No, Thick as Thieves is not the one I was looking at. Is it Snap and Grab? No, Snap and Grab is neat. Snap and Grab is the heist game where you were taking pictures of the different parts of the environment that you were basically looking at to and then pulling off heists based on the stuff that you're seeing, which is really really neat. Let's move on to the Xbox showcase as well. What I appreciate about the Xbox showcase is that Xbox straight up did their own, like, here's everything we showed, so I can just go straight to the source. They showed off hardware. They showed off the new ROG Xbox Ally, the ROG Xbox Ally, which is a handheld PC designed to run Windows and the Xbox games that are available on Windows, as well as Steam and GOG and Battle.net and Epic and all of that stuff. Really, really neat. It is a handheld, think something like a Switch, but, you know, without a dock, at least not right now. Think a Steam Deck, something like that. No announcement on price. They just kind of showed off hardware and kind of a sizzle reel of what you can expect from that console. But hey, if you're looking to finally get into the kind of handheld PC gaming market, or you're thinking of a way to play Xbox games on dedicated hardware, and you don't have another way to play them, or you want like a Game Pass machine, the ROG Xbox Ally could be what you're looking for. Couple of titles that they announced. They announced Call of Duty Black Ops 6. They're just going to make a direct sequel to Call of Duty's Black Ops 6. They're going back to the future with this game taking place in 2035. So it is I'm not saying that Black Ops is a bad series for Call of Duty. Do not get me wrong. In fact, it's probably my favorite. But it is a scenario where, like, it's kind of a mess. So this game is going to take place in 2035. So it is technically a sequel to Black Ops 2, which Black Ops 2 is technically a sequel to Black Ops 6, because Black Ops 6 takes place in the 90s. And then Black Ops 2, when does Black Ops 2 take place? Here I am, like, trying to parse out like the timeline of Call of Duty games. Well, Black Ops. So Black Ops 2's story takes place between 1986 and 1989, which is the first Cold War, the final years of the first Cold War, and then in 2025. So, again, Call of Duty is wild and weird, and this seems very sci-fi, but it also seemed very trippy and in mind fuck and David Lynch weird stuff. Like, it has all of that stuff to it. So if you were looking for another Call of Duty mind fuck, but maybe set in a futuristic world, look no further than Black Ops 7. I don't know if you're going to need to have played Black Ops 6 to play through Black Ops 7. They seem to do a pretty good job of like, oh, if you missed a game, like I had a family member who got into Call of Duty with Call of Duty Cold War, right? Which technically takes place before some of the events of Black Ops 2, but takes place after the events of Black Ops 1, and they had a great time. Like, they were like, oh, it's fun, the crazy bell and all of this stuff. And it's like, they had a good time, right? Like, they really enjoyed it. So I have a feeling that they designed these stories to be like rewarding for people who have played any of the other games, but not a requirement. Like, you do not, compared to something like maybe the Yakuza games, which are very different games. I understand I'm comparing apples to oranges, but you do not need to have played 6 other Call of Duty Black Ops games to get into Black Ops 7, if I were to guess. Couple things to announce with this as well. You can play through the entire game in co-op with your friends if you would like. They also announced multiplayer mode with new maps and a new chapter in the round-based zombies mode. The official reveal for Black Ops 7 is going to happen this summer. I would like to recognize a couple of standout games from the Xbox showcase, starting with Clockwork Revolution, a steampunk action first-person RPG made by In Exile. A really neat twist on not just like, clockwork, steampunk art style, but also time manipulation and mystery and stuff like that. A really neat looking game. If you have not, like, I don't think I can do this game quite justice by describing it the way I would like. So what I would say is, if you haven't had a chance to look at it, take a look at it. Another game I'm looking forward to is Gears of War Reloaded. That is coming out August 26th on Xbox Series X and S, PC, Steam, PlayStation 5, all of that good stuff. I should also mention Black Ops is also coming to PlayStation as well. But Gears of War Reloaded looks neat. I'm very much looking forward to playing through Gears of War again in this reloaded format. They're saying that it is being lovingly remastered. That is the words that they use to describe it. They describe it as a definitive release optimized for each platform, featuring 4K textures, 60 frames per second in campaign, 120 frames in multiplayer, cross-play, and cross-progression. Now, if you don't know, you can play through Gears of War co-op, which means that if you had a friend playing Gears of War on PlayStation and a friend playing it on Xbox, you could play together if you wanted to do so. Obsidian were without a doubt the biggest and baddest developer to be shown off at the Summer Game Fest Xbox presentation, because they announced Grounded 2, which is coming to game preview and Steam Early Access July 29th. So the game is unfinished. You are going back to the backyard. Let me rephrase. In Grounded 1, you play the game in the backyard. In Grounded 2, you are stepping out of the backyard and into the suburban wilderness with new bugs, new biomes, and the same tiny chaos. It is now set in the Brook Hollow Park and featuring the return of our teen heroes. The continuation brings major quality of life upgrades like the all-in-one Omni tool and delivers on one of the community's most requested features, rideable buggies. It is not just a sequel, it is a follow-up fans were hoping for, packed with sharper tools, weirder bugs, and enough callbacks to make you wonder if you've been lurking in our forums thread, as they said. They're also working with Eidos Montreal on this game. They also claim that Grounded has had over 25 million players check out the game, which is really, really crazy. Like, I didn't know Grounded 2 was the biggest thing that Obsidian has worked on, but that is really neat. I downloaded Grounded. I don't know if I'm going to get around to it because there are so many demos that I'm trying to play. There's so many games that I'm trying to play right here, right now. But I would really, really love to maybe get around to Grounded if I get the chance. There is a new game from the folks at Double Fine Productions called Keeper. It is an otherworldly third-person adventure game where you play as a walking lighthouse. It is a little creepy. It's a little weird, but it looks neat in that classic Double Fine style. They shot off more Ninja Gaiden 4. I actually played a little bit of Ninja Gaiden Black 2 very recently. That is the re-release of Ninja Gaiden Black that came out earlier this year. And as much as I talk about liking character action games and hoping that more of these third-person action games lean more towards not being Souls-like, Ninja Gaiden is hard, and I'm too stupid for it, so I don't have like the most excited feelings towards Ninja Gaiden 4, but it is coming out October 21st. Probably the biggest focus of the Xbox showcase is Xbox's biggest game for this year. I'm talking about The Outer Worlds 2, also being developed by Obsidian. That is coming out on everything: Xbox Series X and S, PC, Steam, and PlayStation 5. And it is the follow-up to The Outer Worlds 1. They did a whole separate showcase for it. If you really want to go, like, there's story trailers and there's gameplay trailers, but there's also a whole separate showcase that they did dedicated to The Outer Worlds 2 and Grounded 2. I think those games are both worth checking out. So if you haven't had the chance, go and look for those in YouTube, wherever you go to check out that stuff. That game is coming out. Outer Worlds 2 is coming out October 29th. Grounded 2 is coming out July 29th. They showed off Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4. They also confirmed that the Foundry demo is out now. Now, the Foundry demo is only available for people who are on Game Pass or for people who have pre-ordered the game. So I have had a chance to play the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 Foundry demo. And it is 2 levels and 2 skateboarders. It is the first level of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 game, which is the Foundry. And it is the first level of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, which is the college level. There is a third skateboarder, which is the Doom guy, but you cannot play as the Doom guy unless you have the deluxe version of that game already pre-ordered. So if you just pre-ordered the base game, you get the demo, or if you have Game Pass, you get the base, you get the demo. But if you have done the pre-order for the deluxe edition, you will be able to get the Doom guy to play in the demo right now as well. I gotta be honest, like I really enjoyed my time with it. I've maybe played a lot of Tony Hawk's as of late, like messing around with 3 and 4, and I played a bunch of Underground from earlier this year, so I am slightly Tony Hawk's did out, but it looks gorgeous. Like, the one thing I'll say is, like, they've added so much vibrancy and so much life, especially to the Foundry. When I was playing through it, I was really impressed by what they've done with the graphics. I think it still controls tight. It plays really, really well. And I'm curious to see what the full version is like. And that game's coming out really, really soon, because that's out on the 10th of July. Aphelion, I think that's what it's called, is the new third-person sci-fi adventure game from Dontnod. That is a neat-looking game where you play as Ariane, looking to rescue her injured partner, Thomas. Gorgeous-looking, running, jumping sort of game that looked really neat. In terms of, like, what else, okay, so Xbox showed off the Invincible Versus game, which is a 3 versus 3 tag fighting game coming in 2026. That game did not nearly have the same impact for me as something like the Marvel game, because I was like, oh, well, Marvel's a bigger name than Invincible and all this stuff. But hey, if you're a fan of the Invincible show or anything like that, You can check that out. But I was going to quickly rattle off the last couple of games that really stuck with me as part of the Xbox showcase, and we can maybe move on to other news. The Midnight Channel is back, y'all. They have announced the Persona 4 Revival. That is a remake of the modern classic JRPG Persona 4. There is not a ton of information to go off of right now. They basically just said, hey, we're making this game. And if you know anything about me, you know that I love Persona 4 more than any other Persona game. And I am very excited to see what they do with this new game. Super Meat Boy 3D World looks neat. Super Meat Boy has always been a very challenging platformer game. And I think maybe putting it in 3D makes it a little more interesting for me. No confirmed date for that game just yet. Another standout game, in my humble opinion, is a little game called There Are No Ghosts at the Grand. It is a combination of hotel decorator management sim and first-person ghost hunter game. I'll say that again. It is a mix between a hotel decorator management game and a ghost hunter game. It looks really, really neat. Really gorgeous looking art style and just sense of place and stuff. Really impressed by it. It is how can I describe it? This is how they've written it down here. You inherit a crumbling English hotel and restore it by day while battling ghosts by night in There Are No Ghosts at the Grand. With a sardonic cat, a talking power tool, and a twisting supernatural plot, this is a spooky, cozy, musical mystery unlike any other. You have exactly 30 days and 30 nights to restore the crumbling hotel and explore the surrounding seaside village for eerie supernatural secrets. It's going to be coming in 2026 to Xbox Series X and S and PC, though I imagine they will also have a PlayStation version at some point. They announced Age of Mythology Retold, which is new DLC for Age of Mythology. They announced updates to the Elder Scrolls. You can now go fishing in Fallout 76. I can only imagine what sort of fucked up fish you're going to find in Fallout. They revealed the DLC for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. That is the Order of the Giants. That's coming out September 4th. And Sea of Thieves is getting into the smuggler business if you're a Sea of Thieves player. One thing to come out of Summer Game Fest in regards to Xbox was that The Outer Worlds 2 is also Xbox's first official $80 US game. So if you don't have Game Pass, you will be paying, a pretty penny to play The Outer Worlds 2. If I go over to the Steam store right now, in Canada, The Outer Worlds 2 on Steam is $100. I don't know if it's the same on other platforms, but that's $100 before tax. You are paying a pretty penny to play The Outer Worlds 2, so might I suggest picking it up on Game Pass if you get the chance. We're going to take another break. We got even more news to talk about. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. It is time to do a quick cock check. Let's check the cock. I need a music segment. First of all, when How to Train Your Cock comes out, I will buy it. And this I think should be a running segment on the show now where we do a cock check. Now, I don't know if my cock will carry over to the full version of the game. If me playing it now in the demo, am I going to lose all my progress when the full version comes out? But I figured we would do a quick cock check, and we have a cock the size of 13.5 centimeters. I don't hear any complaints about that. They say size isn't everything. They've never tried training their cock. So I'm trying to wrap my mind kind of around Summer Game Fest. It is always such a overwhelming sense of, games being thrown at you left and right and all of this stuff. There's just so much to kind of go off of, if I'm being honest. But what I wanted to do is maybe take the time right now. I'm going to run through my Steam wish list with you right now. And maybe we'll just cover some of the games that I am looking forward to that are coming out sometime soon. There's not a lot to go off of, but sometime soon. Now, keep in mind that a lot of these games are also games that have demos that I haven't played yet. Like, there's every possibility that I'm going to come back and be like, whoo, that game is not looking so hot. But let me just kind of run through a couple of these games here. So first thing I would say is please watch the artwork. I think that's a really clever way of interpreting art and encouraging people to dissect and look at art by looking for hidden objects and stuff in the artwork. And I think having like a little horror twist to it, a psychological, surreal horror twist to it, I think is also quite neat as well. Now, if you don't know, please watch the artwork is also from the guy who made Please Touch the Artwork, which is also a neat like hidden object game where you are kind of poking and manipulating stuff in that classical artwork to see it. Another game I wanted to mention, I don't know if it was at Summer Game Fest, but it looks pretty neat, is a game called My Arms Are Longer Now. It is a game where you play as a very long-armed thief, and you are basically, it's like a top-down kind of 2D stealth comedy game where you're kind of snaking your way through the environment with these really goofy long arms to pickpocket people and steal stuff and all of this stuff. My Arms Are Longer Now is a neat looking game. They are making a action RPG, like a third-person action RPG set in the Expanse universe, heavily inspired by something like Mass Effect. Again, if you have not played Mass Effect, you should really play Mass Effect. Don't mess around. But I'm not an Expanse guy. I've never watched the show or anything like that. But if you're telling me that they're going to make a third-person action shooter set in the Expanse world, I'm at least willing to give it a shot. I think that looks really neat. No release date for that yet. That is being made by Owlcat Games. Those are the people that also did Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, as well as Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. What else? Oh, this is a game that I actually played, a demo that I played just last night, and it crossed my mind, and I think it's really, really clever. It is a game called Ball Cross Pit, Ball X Pit, or a Ball Cross Pit. It is a brick-breaking, ball-blasting game. Think something like Arkanoid or any of those block-breaking games. But it is an action survival game where basically you play as a character who is constantly moving forward on this top-down battlefield as you climb up this dungeon or whatever you want to call it. And the enemies basically come towards you. So you are constantly shooting the balls and you are constantly killing enemies. And as you kill enemies, they drop money and they drop resources and they drop upgrades. And then you can basically upgrade your character as you go through the battle. I think the battles are like, I don't know, like maybe 10 minutes. I didn't quite put a timer on it, but the battles do take a little bit of time. And the idea being that you're surviving this wave after wave of enemies, upgrading your balls, and oh, I got a ball that does bleeding damage. So when I hit an enemy, it'll stick to them and deal additional damage. Or, oh, I have a ghost ball and it basically manages to travel through all of the enemies instead of just bouncing back to me. Now, the nice thing is that you don't need to, like with Arkanoid, unlike Arkanoid, you do not have to pick up the balls, but you do get perks and bonuses if you do manage to pick up the ball that gets sent back to you. The enemies are shooting arrows and fireballs and all these other, so you're basically dodging enemy attacks while breaking the balls at the same time. If you've not seen this game, it is fucking rad. I've been playing that demo and I think it is so cool. The different upgrades and stuff that you get from it. Really awesome looking. It's being put out by Volver Digital, developed by Kenny Sun. Ball X Pit. If you've not seen it, go check that out. What else? Again, like this is probably going to be a scenario where I'm going to be adding to this list as I kind of go through the demos. One game I wanted to mention is a game called Retooled. Retooled is a like 2D side-scrolling heist game, and the really neat thing about this game is that it is taking African artifacts, like real African artifacts, and African history, and basically making it the focus of the game. So it's a game about you breaking into Western museums, European museums, and stuff like that, and basically taking back these African artifacts that have been stolen and put into these museums. a really neat idea. And the way that it works is you go through your planning phase of like, oh, okay, this is the museum, this is the layout, this is this, this is that. You then go through the act of escaping and stealing the artifact. And then when you get back to the hideout, you can actually learn like real world history about these African relics and artifacts and stuff like that. Really, really neat. I think the game looks really cool. No date for it though, but Relooted is a really cool looking game. I think, this game I think was part of the Summer Game Fest. I really wanted to mention this. It is a game called Felt That Boxing. It is a comedic boxing game set in the world of puppets, and it is very Muppet looking, like puppeteer sort of thing. Incredible graphics. Like, it is so lifelike in its puppet stylings and stuff. It looks really, really cool. No date for it, but if you have not seen Felt That Boxing, I can't believe they managed to pull off like this, their graphics and styles of this, because it just looks fantastic. Into the Unwell, a game very inspired by, classic cartoon animation. It is a third person action platformer game in something like a PS2 style game. It's coming to early access, but we don't have a date for that, but that looks really neat. Into the Unwell, I'm really digging. What else can I even mention up at the top here? I have a demo for Henry Halfhead. I have not had a chance to play Henry Halfhead yet. So don't get at me. Yeah, you know what? Let me take a better look at some of the stuff that I still need to look at, and maybe we'll do like here's a better list of everything I need to play or want to look at or buy or whatever the case may be for next week's show. If you don't mind, let's like maybe put a pause on this, because there's way too many stuff that I am missing out on, and that's before we even get into like Xbox and PlayStation and stuff like that. So let me put a pause on this for the time being, because I'm just not quite prepared as I would like to be, because there's just so much stuff. But I wanted to cover something that happened at the Summer Game Fest that was not a reveal. It wasn't a debut. It wasn't an announcement or anything like that. But it was very, very noteworthy. It was very newsworthy, I would say. And God help me, was it bad? God help me, was it in just the worst poor taste, just the worst awful thing? I don't even know how else to describe it other than, well, let's just say this. There's a free-to-play first-person shooter out now called Splitgate 2. It is trying to take influence from games like Halo and Call of Duty, and really, the developers are trying to make the type of first-person shooter games that they love to play, that they love to see, the type of games that they feel like are being unrepresented, utilized in the world of first-person shooters. Splitgate 1 was a very successful game. In fact, it became so successful that the developers needed to cancel further development on the game so that they could implement all the ideas that they wanted to add to Splitgate 2. Lo and behold, Splitgate 2 is out now. I have not played it, so don't like get at me being like, GnittWitt, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I have not played Splitgate 2. Don't. Just don't. That all being said, here's what happened. The game is being developed by 1047 Games. Their CEO, Ian Prolu, went out on stage to make some announcements in regards to the future of Splitgate 2. And when he came out on stage, he was wearing a hat that said, "Make first-person shooters great again." It was a black hat, white font. It said, "Make FPS great again." Very much in the style of the Make America Great Again hat that has been incredibly popular due to President Donald Trump. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know that I am not a particular fan of Donald Trump, that I'm not a fan of a lot of conservative policies and conservative politics and stuff like that. It's not for me. I want you to know that regardless of how you or I may feel about conservative politics, my comments going forward have nothing to do with potential political ideology, be it left wing or right wing. So just give me a moment here. My problem is that this unnecessarily politicizes a game that did not, and a developer and a person that did not need to be politicized. Like, think about Call of Duty. Call of Duty features, some historical, real world things that have happened. You are literally playing through, well, not literally, but you are in Call of Duty, you are playing through, periods such as World War II and the Cold War and the Gulf War and the Vietnam War and stuff like that. Like, they reference, historical things in Call of Duty, but they somehow manage to, through, I don't know, the sheer magic of their development process, whatever you want to call it, they managed to avoid a lot of the pratfalls and pitfalls of taking political messages, meanings, ideologies, historical context, and having it influence and get in front of and distract from the game. Like I can't stress enough, like, in Battlefield, you are literally playing as people that are supposed to be representative of the experiences people had in World War I. But no one sits there, for the most part, and thinks about the politics around, World War I. No one's thinking about, like, the assassination of Franz Ferdinand and all of this stuff. Like, they just don't think about the politics of that, right? There is nothing about first-person shooters as they have been depicted in Splitgate 2 that needed to be politicized, right? Like, it's a fantasy sci-fi game. It's not, taking inspiration or influence from, real events or anything like that. It is a colorful science fiction shooter. That's it. It didn't need a Make America Great Again thing. It didn't need a Barack Obama, yes we can, whatever, right? It didn't need any of this political context. The other thing to note is that Summer Game Fest took place in Los Angeles, the same city where Donald Trump deployed National Guard members amid major protests around immigration raids. I don't care what you think about immigration. I don't care what you think about Donald Trump or the National Guard, right? We can have a separate conversation about this. You can get at me. I'll tell you all that I think, right? But nobody was asking for a bad spoof on MAGA in the form of a guy wearing a hat talking about Splitgate 2. It did not need to happen. It did not need to happen. And then once he starts talking, all he does is criticize the state of the first-person shooter genre, talking about, we really love Halo and we want to bring that back. And, we really wish someone would make a, Titanfall 3. Like, they're just talking about things that they wish existed in the first-person shooter genre. And then what his big announcement is? His big announcement is that they're putting a fucking battle royale mode into Splitgate 2. Excuse me, I've played a lot of Fortnite. And it doesn't matter whether you're familiar with Fortnite or other battle royales. I can tell you that the last thing that any first-person shooter needed was a battle royale mode. If it didn't already have one, it did not need one. So for a guy to come out and talk about, we're going to really pave the way to making shooters the way we wish they were, and we want to bring back the feeling, restore the feeling, like what Will Ospreay says, and all this stuff. And then to have the most boring fucking announcement being a battle royale mode while wearing a fucking make first-person shooters great again hat. Are you kidding me? Like, if this is satire, it is pathetic. If it's supposed to be a spoof, It is horrible. Like, there is nothing about this that that comes off as necessary or good. Like, it doesn't make me want to play Splitgate 2. It doesn't make me excited about if I'm a Splitgate 2 player, it doesn't make me excited about the future of Splitgate 2, which just launched, by the way. That game literally came out in May 22 of this year. Like, it is not an old game. And then also they put a bunch of microtransactions in, like, it's a free to play game. They put microtransaction in it, and people are complaining about the pricing of games and all of this shit. Like, all it has done is kill a lot of what Splitgate 2 had going for it. Now, there's more to the story. Initially, the CEO, what's his dipshit's name again? Ian Prolu. Initially, I'm getting this from Video Games Chronicles. As always, shout out to Video Games Chronicles. This is a article written by Andy Robinson. But he says, initially, Prolu had declined to apologize for his choice of attire, claiming on social media that he was not making a political statement and that viewers should take his appearance at face value. Days later, however, the CEO decided to publish an apology, admitting on the official Splitgate social media accounts that his MAGA-style hat was a marketing stunt gone wrong. He says, at our biggest stage coming out of beta, we needed something to grab attention, and the honest truth is, we tried to think of something, and this is what we came up with. We did not intend for this to be taken in any political way whatsoever, and I'm not an idiot. Obviously, I knew there would be some level of controversy, but we really saw this as a meme that was stating our truth, which is we do want to improve the genre, and we are disappointed with the state of the genre. He added, the truth is, I am sorry, and the reason I'm sorry is because of what this has done to the community. There's division in the community, and for that, I am truly sorry, and I am truly sorry to say that I have never wanted to see a developer and a game fail as much as Splitgate 2. It does not matter the political ideologies attached to it. It doesn't. If this was like a fucking Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, fucking Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, whatever, it would have sucked too, and don't tell me it wouldn't have. This is so gross. It's so gross. Like, I'm never going to give it a chance. Like, they will have to pay me to play this game. And until then, I'm just going to sit here and wish for nothing but the worst for the Splitgate 2 game, for the developer. The community deserves better. Like, the people that are playing this game deserve better. I'm not going to play this game. What? So they can just add more bullshit microtransactions, so they can add like some half-assed, lame-ass attempt at a battle royale game? Like, fuck this game top to bottom. Top to bottom. You can say it's a hot take or whatever. You can be like, oh, GnittWitt, you're so sensitive. Why are you so triggered? Like, this guy, Ian Prolu, whatever the fuck his name is, should probably step down as CEO. You should probably step down to CEO and just fuck off and never make another video game again. Like, I hope that he never sees the first-person shooter world that he wants to see. Like, I hope he never sees, like, the world in the way he imagines it, because he doesn't deserve to for this stupid-ass stunt. Like, if you feel like I'm missing context or that I'm not doing him justice, like, go ahead and watch the clips of him presenting it. It sucks. It's bad. He is terrible. And if there was a biggest loser coming out of Summer Game Fest, it is Splitgate 2, it is 1047 Games, and it's this fucking guy, Ian Prolu, or Prulux, whatever. Because this was one of the worst marketing stunts that I feel like I've seen in a while. And now I like actively dislike the game and I haven't even bothered to play it. Anyways, let's move on. Sony has laid off about 30% of the Days Gone developer Bend Studios after canceling a live service game. In a statement, Sony confirmed reports of the layoffs and said the studio is shifting focus to its next project. Always a good thing to see when you are ramping up to start a brand new game and you are cutting people in the process instead of hiring more. But here we are. Sony's laid off about 30% of the staff at Bend Studio, the first-party developer of the PlayStation 4 open-world game Days Gone. The publisher confirmed the layoffs in a statement to GameSpot. I am getting this from GameSpot, courtesy of Phil Hornshaw. According to Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, about 40 people were laid off from the studio. In a statement, Sony also confirmed that Bend Studio had been working on a live service game, but the game had been canceled and the studio is now moving forward on a new, unnamed project. Schreier wrote, earlier this year, Bend Studio wrapped development on a live service concept. This is a statement provided to GameSpot, excuse me. After careful consideration, we chose not to move forward with it. As the team shifts focus to its next project, we've made strategic changes to better position the studio for long-term success. As part of this transition, a workforce reduction has taken place at the studio. This decision was not made lightly, and we are extremely grateful for the meaningful contributions of all of those impacted. Bend Studio has been a valued part of PlayStation Studios for decades, and we remain confident in its future and creative direction. Now, to remind you, Sony has canceled multiple games since it announced a focus on developing live service concepts following the acquisition of Destiny 2 developer Bungie in 2022. Originally, the publisher said it intended to launch 12 live service games by 2025, but in 2023, it narrowed that figure to just 6, with the Bend layoffs just being the latest. The Bend layoffs are just the latest of many Sony has made in recent years, including the closing of Firewalk Studios after the live service first-person shooter Concord. There was also layoffs at Bungie following its acquisition and the release of the last major expansion, The Final Shape. Among recent closures was Sony's London studio and the independent-owned Deviation Games that were both shuttered in 2024. So hey, this is just a long running horror story that is development at Days Gone developer Bend, but also Sony Studios in general. I want to quickly cover here as part of the news story. The Switch 2 has sold over 3.5 million units worldwide in its first 4 days, as reported by Nintendo themselves. They put out a statement saying, "Hey, we sold a lot of games. We sold a lot of Switch hardware." What does it say here? This is the highest global sales level for any Nintendo hardware within the first 4 days. So, Switch 2, an incredibly popular console, at least right now. Embracer is replacing their CEO. This is the CEO that saw turbulent acquisition spree and mass layoffs. Lars Wingefors will be replaced as their CEO, and they're going to be replaced by Phil Rogers, who's the current CEO of Crystal Dynamics and Eidos. And you know about Embracer Group. You don't have to have me tell you anything else going on at Embracer Group. There is some missing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 content, and it will be part of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 New Game Plus. According to Iron Galaxy, due to the original design of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, fitting all of the game's original goals into the remaster wasn't feasible, given the remake's 2-minute timer format. As part of Video Games Chronicle's recent hands-on session with the near final game, Iron Galaxy, the developers, told Video Games Chronicles that many of the missing goals are now part of the game's new Pro Goals system, which are additional objectives that unlock once the player has completed the level's initial 10 goals. Now, there are confirmations that minigames such as playing tennis will not be returning. This now means that significantly more of the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 content is part of the upcoming remake package. We are rapidly going through these news stories. The new Supermassive game, Supermassive, of course, the Until Dawn and the Quarry people, their next game is called Directive 8020. It has been confirmed that there will be a rewind and replay feature in order to rewind to key decision moments and change the outcomes. And finally, the Zelda movie has been delayed. The release date has slipped due to production reasons. It has been delayed. Let's see here. They have confirmed that the release date for the Legend of Zelda movie is now May 7th, 2027. Games that I have been playing. Played through that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 demo, really enjoyed it. Played through Baby Steps, really like it. Played that Ball Cross Pit demo. I think that game is a ton of fun. I've downloaded Karen. I'll check that out. Cock check. We are looking at a whopping 13.8 centimeters for Cocky Balboa as part of the How to Train Your Cock demo. I am getting close to the end of Darksiders War Mastered Edition. I am getting very close to the end of Mass Effect 2. And if I'm being honest, I'm probably going to want to wrap up those games before I really commit to any other brand new games. I know there are a ton of new games coming out all the time now, and it's really hard to keep track of a lot of that stuff. I also played a little bit of the Yuka Replay Lead demo, which I don't have a lot to go off of because I didn't play a lot of Yooka-Laylee originally. But it feels and plays like what the game should have been when it originally came out. They did say that if you own the game, you will be getting a discount on the remake or remaster of that game. Don't know how much just yet, but that is what they said. Hey, we're going to toss you a bone and give you a discount on Yuka Replay League when that comes out. There are so many demos that I need to get to. There are so many games I need to finish that we're going to wrap this podcast up with that and say thank you so much for checking out the Glitch Report podcast. Make sure to go over to linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt, for more content, social media pages, etc., etc. It is, I'll probably be back next week to give maybe a better kind of breakdown of games that I'm looking forward to, games that really caught my eye. Maybe I'll try to break it down to like a top 5, top 10. It really depends on how big that list is, but it'll basically be like future games. Like it's going to be games that are coming out at some time in the future. That may be games that we haven't really talked about just yet. So that's going to do it for the Glitch Report podcast. I got to finish some games. I got to play some demos, and I got to train my cock, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you so much for hanging out. Take it easy.